So I just put out a video called There Is Too Much Anime, and it's deliberately a sort of unclean, ranty video. I don't try to break down tons and tons of data or like bring up all the different shows that like mean exactly what I'm talking about because I just wanted to make the point and get the sort of thought germ out there that people would consider this idea and the possibility of there being too much anime coming out. But a question I've been getting a lot of is how do we know what shows should or should not be made? Like, what do I mean that there are some shows that shouldn't be getting made at all? Because surely a lot of these shows that don't have a huge audience are being supported by the hardcore niche fans, the ones who will buy crazy amounts of shit related to the show. And the show doesn't have to appeal to a super wide audience, it just has to appeal to those people. And you know, how do we know which shows are going to be successful? How can you tell things like that? I think it is more simple than you might be giving it credit for. I think there are times when shows get made that obviously shouldn't have been made. And I think Two Car is a perfect example of that, which is why I used it in the video. Two Car is a show that doesn't really have any redeeming qualities. It's not a show that anyone is going to consider, like, amazing because the character designs don't really stand out, so it's not like it's carried on that. Like, if you watch Eromanga Sensei, I might think that show is dog shit, but it's pretty easy to understand why it's successful. It's got really attractive characters, it's got some funny memes in it, you know, people with a certain sense of humor will enjoy the show, it's got a lot of fetish stuff, and it appeals to a lot of trends in anime, so it's like totally understandable, yeah, make that show. Like, I might think it's bad, but it's definitely a good idea, you know, monetarily. But you look at a show like Two Car, there's not really exceptional animation. The art design looks really bad. It's a really bad looking show. And this is an original anime, by the way. This was not made to promote a manga. You know, it wasn't something that was like commissioned of the studio, which it's a fucking Silverlink show who don't even make that many original shows. So it's a really odd that this exists at all. And trying to figure out why it exists. Like, there's a lot of shows coming out right now about girls on some kind of bike. You know, Bakuan was a successful manga made into what I assume is a successful show. It got an OVA release. I don't remember if they ever announced a season 2 in the future. I don't think they have, but there's been an OVA. There's been a lot of, you know, talk about it in anime communities, at least the more niche communities. I was a big fan of the show for sure, you know, so like I understand that show potentially starting a trend of people being like, oh, let's adapt more stuff like that. But what was what was good about Bakuan was not that it was about cute girls on motorcycles. That's an element of it. But it was the brand of humor, the way that it comments on fandom, and the way that it presents like a very accurate portrayal of what motorcycle fans are like. Then you get several shows about girls on regular bikes that don't have that spark. We had the one from last year that had a super delayed and, you know, troubled production, which was Cute Girls on Bikes, and it was very generic. It was just kind of like, I mean, it was it was like the perfectly generic sports show, you know, just going through like what it means to ride bikes essentially, and power of friendship, and girls are cute, you know. And then this year we previously had a show about cute girls on bikes with really lavish production that was really gorgeous to look at, and if that show was successful, that's obviously why. You know, it looked really good. It was very pleasing, sort of Iyashikei pacing. You know, characters are pretty generic. It doesn't have that spark that Bakuan has, but it's there. But then you get to Two Car, and it really feels like they just looked at the success of cute girls on motorcycles and made cute girls on motorcycles, but didn't give thought to, like, what's actually good about Bakuan at all. The artwork looks like shit. There's no real hook, no character that you immediately get attached to. Like, the first episode is this weird, meandering, like, it's, like, basically just a race, as far as I can tell. I can't watch the whole thing. I've, like, skipped through it to try to understand what the hell it is. And it just seems to be two girls, like, commentating on a motorcycle race. there's just not a feeling of attachment to it, And looking at it, I really feel like, how did nobody see this? Like, this is obvious. If you put, you know, not great character designs, a not great production design, into a not great script, and do a not great job directing it. Who the hell directed 2-Car? Let me look over here. Masafumi Tamura. I've never heard of him. He directed Angie Vierge and did character designs for it. He's mostly a character designer and assistant animation director. So this is only his second directing work, and the first one was Angie Vierge. And even that show, at least, was like batshit crazy enough that I could see people caring about it. 2-Car just has no standout qualities. It's just about girls fucking on motorcycles racing. Like, the only appeal of this show would be if you just wanted to see shows about girls on motorcycles. Like, literally, you don't care about anything else. You just want that. And I don't think that's a huge audience, especially if you're not going to do it with high production values. So, this show has no attention on it. And it shouldn't. So when I look at a show like that, I have to think, did they really think this would sell to somebody? Like, who was this show made for? Who is out there that's going to pour their love and attention into a show that doesn't really have anything going for it, when they could just continue to love the other cute girls on motorcycles shows that actually have personality, So yeah, sometimes I understand when they take a shot and they miss, but I'm like, I see what you were going for. In this case, I really don't. And it speaks to me of, like, just not knowing what the fuck they're doing. Like, how could they know what they're doing and make this? How could they not at any stage stop and say, wait, let's not produce this thing that doesn't seem like it will be good to anybody, And I feel like we need more of the industry, different companies taking a step back and having that realization.